If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time. If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
All right, welcome to the Counter Racist Code Show. I am Gate, and Mr. Bobby is going to be joining me shortly. We bring you this show every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. I'm sorry, at 9 o'clock a.m. And this is the show that Mr. Fuller started back about 5 years ago. And the show was broadcast originally on Blog Talk. And Mr. Bobby was the co-host, and I was the producer of the show. And so we're going to keep this show going. And I think Mr. Bobby's just joined the room. Let me bring him back on the stage here. Hang on. There he is back there.
Okay.
Thought I lost you there for a minute, my friend.
You did.
All right, the show. Go ahead and start us off there, Mr. Bobby.
Okay, well, welcome to the May the 7th, 2025 edition of Neely Fuller's Counter Racist Code Show. As Gate was saying, we are trying to, or attempting to continue the legacy of Mr. Fuller. So you will hear a lot of references to Mr. Fuller. We are not Mr. Fuller, but we do believe in producing justice and following the code. The easiest way to get in contact with the show, at least Gate and I were speaking about that this morning, is by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com, where you can also get all the books that we will be referring to in the today's broadcast. And then the other platforms, I'm going to have Gate tell you those, because I'm not really familiar with those. So Gate, what are those other platforms that we can that the people can get in contact with the show?
Well, like I said, Mr. Bobby, first of all, if you can go to producejustice.com, that's available to all, whether you have social media or not. But you can also go to directed to our very popular YouTube channel, which is at Produce Justice. And if you're a Facebook follower, then you can go to Produce Justice Neely Fuller Jr. And so what we're trying to do is make this information available on as many platforms as possible. But what you can, like I said, you can always go to the website, because the website is also going to keep you abreast of some of the other things that are going on with the show and with keeping Mr. Fuller's legacy alive. This is the official Neely Fuller Counter Racist Code show. There are other shows out there on the internet, but this is the show that you're going to keep up. We're going to keep up with the most current information regarding Mr. Fuller and his works. And Mr. Fuller has made it very clear the best way to support him is to follow his works, is to follow his show, is to read his books. And he has some new material coming out that we're going to be releasing. And you can get that information by staying in tune with us and by going to the website, producejustice.com. Also, many people have been asking about how can they get on the show. So this is what we're going to do. We do a different show every week, obviously, and we do like to engage. In the past, we were have people could call into the show when we were on Blog Talk, but now we're doing a different platform. It's doing everything is digital and virtual and social media and that kind of thing. So what you want to do is send us an email at contact@producejustice.com, and then you can also tell us what topic you're interested in talking about or discussing, or if you just want to come on in general. And we will send you the link to the show. And now you will be on camera. So you want to make sure you have a phone or a computer that has a camera on it and an audio. And we can actually do a quick test before you go on the air. So that's how you can get on the show. And many people have been asking about that. So we look forward to engaging you and bringing you onto the platform and to make this show more interactive, because many of you have a lot to say. And this is not just about me and Mr. Bobby. Mr. Bobby was Mr. Fuller's co-host on Blog Talk for 5 years, and I was the producer. And so we're trying to keep this legacy and justice alive. So that's how. And we're also going to be, if you have comments, we're going to try to keep up by keeping your comments keep your comments flowing, and we'll put your comments on the screen. Some we'll read, some we may not get a chance to. But I see some of the regular folks. Thank you, J.R. Lawson, Produce Justice, WK2 FM Radio, as Mr. Bobby calls Sassafat 7, Stray Godzilla, and all the other people who are tuning in. Thank you again for tuning into the show. We got an exciting show going on today. We're gonna have a mixed bag today. We're gonna talk about several topics. Some of the things that Mr. Fuller talked about. I was Mr. Bobby. I was looking at I was following this story about Shannon Sharp and some of the challenges he's had. Shannon Sharp, as everyone may or may not know, was a very popular announcer on ESPN. He also had a very popular podcast, and he came to fame in many homes through his interview with Cat Williams on his podcast, and that really launched him into the stratosphere. He had a show where on his show he invited Monique, and Monique said, "You better be careful putting with these young girls." And so unfortunately, Shannon did not heed. I'm saying allegedly he did not heed Mr. Cat Williams, and Cat Williams didn't want, but Monique. And so what happens? This young Caucasian lady, she's young, probably young enough to be his daughter. She has accused him of rape. And during the investigation, the ESPN he has stepped away from his lucrative position at ESPN. So I was looking for some content to see what would the code say. What would Mr. Fuller say about this? Now, of course, he wasn't around to hear the story about Shannon, but he did have some comments on this particular topic. So stay tuned. We're going to put on a comment from Mr. Fuller from one of his past shows.
People should only have sexual intercourse with non-white people under the system of white supremacy. Now, when we're not under the system of white supremacy, that can change or whatever needs to be changed too, because color won't make no difference. All right. Right now, color makes a difference. So we're not trying to add to the confusion. Or sometimes black people say, well, we just sticking to the white supremacist thing because they don't approve of marriage between white and non-white. And I say yes, right. A lot of them don't, and I go along with them on that. White and non-white in a marital situation. Why? There's a reason why. It adds to the confusion. And when you take first things first, get rid of the system of white supremacy, then get into bed.
One thing about Mr. Fuller, he was direct.
Yes.
Now, what do I say about this, Mr. Bobby? Now, one thing he did say, and I think that was one of his ongoing themes. There are a lot of things that you can do outside of a system of white supremacy and racism. When you have a system of justice, when you have removed the system of white supremacy and placed it with a system of justice, and Mr. Fuller's, from what I've read and interpreted over the years from listening to him, is that quite a few things are permissible, but as long as you're under the system of racism and white supremacy, he's saying certain things are off limits. And he felt that interracial marriage and interracial intercourse was one of those things. Now, Sassafat also said, what about Steve McNair was another example. He was a prominent football player, played for he was a quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. And he had a girl who was yes, he was kind of stepping out with this young white chick. And of course, she ended up taking his life. So he's saying that do what you have to do, but certain things are it's just gonna be more difficult. The system is just not built for those type of relationships. That's Mr. Fuller's take. WK2FM says Shannon may have did something when he was doing the nasty that she did not agree with, and she came back and called it rape. Yep. That's always the possibility. When you're doing something that goes against the code, and according to Mr. Fuller, that type of relationship was not within code, long as you're operating in the system of racism and white supremacy. What you got there, Mr. Bobby?
Oh, absolutely. But the main thing is Shannon's actions showed what is in him, because no one made him do that. This was something that he wanted to do, and he was given warnings, just as we all are, but he didn't heed those warnings, and he didn't understand or didn't think about the results of what he was getting into or going to do. Primarily, he's a national figure. You know, and because we are in this system, anything that we do that is perceived as wrong is going to be exaggerated. So it starts within him, and it shows the disrespect that he has for himself. And because he did that, he did not respect her or others. But if he were to examine himself and get himself together, then he could overcome the pitfalls and the dangers that are out here, particularly in the system of racism, white supremacy. You are a target, Gate. I am a target. We all are targets because we are in this system, and we have to recognize that. It is not friendly. They are not our friends. They want to destroy us, change history, anything they could do to make us be bad. And since he was on national TV, or maybe worldwide TV, they just chalked it up as another black man or black folks that couldn't control themselves, period. And that's a shame, because that is not true, but it appears that it is true.
You know, one thing, Mr. Bob, one of the things that Mr. Sassafat says that, which Mr. Fuller said often. He said, "We are all non-white people. We're in a prison yard,
Yes.
and the people, the white people, are the guards, and that there should be no intermingling or no sex relations between the prisoners and the guards." And that's once again another area that Mr. Fuller he spoke about quite often. So thanks for reminding us of that, Sassafat. Um, Now, Breeze Creation said, "Don't blame these women. That's just who he is. It's not his first time." That is
That's
true.
right. He's right. Breach
Yeah.
connections is absolutely. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying.
He
But
was kind of
that
flaunting
is
it.
true. That's true for all of us. See, the blame starts within us, Gate. It starts with because he wanted to do that stuff, or we want to do bad. You have a choice, and so this is what he chose, and this is the consequences of what he has chosen for all of us. Really, if you choose to be bad, trust me, bad things are going to happen. Then it may not show up right away, but they're on the way.
Just look through the annals of history, the OJs and the people of the world. It just, I mean, I'm not making an absolute. I'm just saying, according to Mr. Fuller, he would always say, according to the evidence just does not seem to have a. But anyway, like you said, he did not. I'm going to reiterate, he did not say unequivocally. He said, as long as you're in this system. And Mr. Fuller has said on many occasions, and I'm going to play it again. He said, until the goal should be to replace the
Yeah,
system.
dismantle it. Good morning, Emery Lumumba. Good to hear from you.
Matter of fact, let me just tell you what he said again.
See, this
All right.
getting rid of white supremacy ain't gonna cut it. You got to replace it with something.
Yes.
The law of compensation says when you move something, you got to replace it with something.
Yes.
Yes, and so that something is justice. Now,
Yes.
what is justice? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is, and he said about many things that you're going to incur, you're going to run across when you're operating in the system of white supremacy, that it may be acceptable when there's justice, when everybody's on equal footing, but when you're in this system, certain things are just going to be problematic. That's what he's saying in a nutshell. Like I said, I'm not putting words in his mouth. I'm just putting in my interpretation. He's saying, as long as you're in this system, certain things just going to be a problem. And if you want those things to, if you want to be able to do certain things, then you have to get rid of the system of racism and white supremacy in order to do those things.
Yeah. And how do you do that? First off, you start, as we mentioned in the very first show, as Mr. Fuller has said, you start off by telling the truth. That's how you start. You start off by telling the truth. And it grows. It grows.
Nicole says every time you see a black man rising, somebody takes them down. There's a takedown happens. Well,
Because the system is designed, the system of racism, white supremacy is designed to do that.
that's exactly right. And let me remind you again, what Mr. Fuller, his when you have lost your way and not sure what's happening in this system, you get confused. We get confused many times. We're watching what happening to Shannon Sharp. We're looking at what's happening to Shadua Sanders. We're looking at things that are happening in the tariffs. We're looking at government layoffs. We're looking at this, that, and the other. Well, this just to remind you, if you ever get lost,
understand white supremacy, racism, because white supremacy is racism, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. I'm going to say that again. If you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what is white supremacy, and how it works. Everything else that you understand will only confuse you.
Well, he said it.
Because you have white supremacy. White supremacy is the...
Yeah. And see, even on last week's show, and at the first, when you open up his books or any show that he has done or we have done, he states that, and I have observed, Gate, that most people let that go over their head. They don't really pay attention to that. But that is prophetic. It is absolutely the truth. That statement is true. But we don't pay no attention to that. But it is definitely prophetic. You have to understand that. Think code, act code, and speak code. You have to do that. TSA.
And the reason he said that we need a code, he said because the racists operate on a code.
Yes, they do.
They are locked in lockstep. When you operating against a system, now we're not just talking about one little person over here that might call you an N-word or somebody that might deny you a job, or when you're operating against a system, and for a system to be that effective, there has to be some code in place. In other words, according to Mr. Fuller, a code is something that works. So Mr. Fuller was so understanding of this problem, he wrote a book called The Counter Racist Code. In other words, to counter the code that seems to have us under his thumb on a daily basis. Now, he wrote these books. He actually wrote 3 books. He wrote a book, the original book he wrote in 2008. Then he wrote a word guide in 2010, and then he revised his original book in 2016, which you can get the books, by the way, on the cohoostjustice.com. And there will be some other. Mr. Fuller had so much information, so much knowledge, and he understood the system so well. Mr. Fuller started out like many of us. He had a job. Matter of fact, he was in the Air Force. He was in the Army. He went to Korea. He worked for the Bureau of Engraving, the government, worked for about 32 years. So he picked up this knowledge along the way, and he crafted it into a code book based on his experiences and his observations. And so what we're doing today, we're running some of the events, occurrences that we may encounter, and run it through the code book. Now, Mr. Fuller said the code book is a book of suggestions. And he also said that we have the right to disagree. And we don't necessarily have to agree with everything he said. But what he did not want us to do, he did not want us to go around here arguing. Mr. Fuller said, don't argue. Matter of fact, let me put up his words.
In an argument, the code says you break off. You break off from the person. Minimize conflict by doing what? Minimizing contact.
Minimizing contact.
I'll make contact with you at some other time, or you make contact with me when we can talk and have a conversation, not an argument. Black people need that terribly.
Okay.
See, we make the conflict worse. Start name calling and all like that. No.
Yes.
Once that argument starts, no, I will talk to you some other time. Hey, Willie, I'll talk to you some other time. No, you're going to talk to me now, Will. I'll talk to you some other time, Willie. I got to go now. I need to be someplace else. Someplace else like what? Oh, away from this argument. Because it ain't going to get no better.
Okay.
Hey, Gate, I'm having an issue here. Let me. I'm gonna be off camera for a minute.
Okay. Now another thing Mr. Fuller was big on, And thanks for the comments, by the way. Mr. Fuller also, Sassafat said, one of the quotes Mr. Fuller used a lot, which way did the white people go? In other words, it seems to be, according to Mr. Fuller, and I guess according to the evidence, that when you get a lot of black people together, arguing ensues. I'm just telling you what he said. He said, minimize the conflict, because when too many black people get together, they try to go find somebody else, almost a referee. In other words, he was saying, where do the white people go? Now, of course, this arguing sometimes lead to something more sinister, something more drastic, like killing. And we have a lot of killing. And so some people have asked, is this killing the result of white supremacy? People keep bringing up the ideas of Chicago and New York and places like that. And why is all this killing going on? Of course, there's killing going on among every race. Every time you put people together, regardless of their race, white people kill more white people than any other person killed white people. Asians kill more Asians than any other race kill Asians. Latinos kill more Latinos than any other race kills Latinos. So it stands to reason that more black people are going to kill more black people than anybody else. But are we trying to emulate other people to see who can kill the most? No, we shouldn't. We should be trying to stop the killing. And to do that, we have to seek justice. Once you get out of this system of white supremacy, a plethora of ills that plague the community will evaporate. Matter of fact, let's put it on a quote. Let's pull some words out, what Mr. Fuller said about killing. And is this killing among black people the result of white supremacy?
We don't have there's no such thing as a civilization that you can call a civilization where somebody gets murdered. Just one person. So I don't know where this black civilization idea came up, because it comes down to one question. Did black people kill anybody before there was white supremacy? Was there any killing under any circumstance of black people killing anybody before white supremacy? That's the question. And I say, according to everything I've seen, somebody got to school me now that there was a time when it didn't happen. Because if just one black person was killed by another black person, that was not a civilization. It didn't exist. It's putting up some bricks on top of bricks. And I mean, it's just a house. I mean, well, that doesn't say you're civilized. You just made a house. Civilized means you don't do any harm to anybody under any circumstance. Nobody harms anybody. Everybody helps everybody all the time. You don't even get mad at nobody. That's a civilization.
Wow. Well, now, boy, that was a mouthful.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Mr. Bobby.
No. I mean, but he is absolutely correct, and we have to keep that in mind, because this is a system, and as you stated earlier, as he has stated, this is a prison system. I don't know why people can't accept that, but it is. I mean, you go out wherever you are, you go out in the location, and you are being tracked under surveillance or whatever. Somebody is watching you at all times. And like he said, the system has to be dismantled in order for justice to come through. Other than that, you're not going to get that. So when they say, what is that, the Pledge of Allegiance, and at the end it says, with liberty and justice for all, that that's not true. It is simply not true. And you have to understand that. Have you pledged an allegiance to the flag? And you know what Fuller said about the flag? Remember that comment that he made about the flag? He said, I do at all times relate to the flag in the exact same way that the flag relates to me. Yeah.
Also, we talked about Constitution a couple of shows ago, and what many people may not realize that in the first paragraph, the preamble of the Constitution was that it was to establish justice.
Yes.
Boy, talking about hypocrisy.
Yeah. Yeah, so, it was a lie.
It goes back to that confusion. Goes back to that statement you just said. If you don't understand it, it's just going to confuse you. There was no intent to establish justice. It was to be established for certain people, but other people were actually under bondage, in bondage. While this, and some of the people who were doing the bonding were sitting there crafting the Constitution.
Exactly.
Man, talking about a system.
Yeah, the people who wrote that had slaves, and they were talking about not having slaves, but they were slave owners, and they printed on the currency, slave owners, and the things that they did, they were having relationship with the slaves. They were what do you call it today? Pedophiles. That's what they were, but they don't want to hear it. But that's exactly what if you look at their history and the children that they made, for instance, Thomas Jefferson with Sally Hemings and so forth. He was a pedophile, man. Come on.
Thank you for tuning in. This is you're listening to the Counter Racist Code Show. You can find out more about Mr. Fuller, his works, by going to producejustice.com. This show is a continuation or an attempt to continue Mr. Fuller's legacy. Mr. Fuller passed away on February 1st of this year. He went to join the ancestors. And I've been tasked with, along with Mr. Bobby, to keep Mr. Fuller's name alive. I was talking to one of our great scholars. I'm not going to call his name, but we had a conversation after Mr. Fuller passed away. And he said so many of our great leaders, when they leave us, they take all that knowledge and information with them. And there's nobody picks up the mantle and keeps it moving forward. And I took that to heart. And so the Fuller family, Mr. Fuller's son, Mark, and I had a very long discussion. And we decided that we were not going to let that happen to Mr. Fuller. So we pulled out, we went back to the person who spent the last 5 to 7 years working with Mr. Fuller on the air, which is Mr. Bobby, and myself, who also works with Produce Justice, and the producer of the Produce Justice, Mr. Fuller's Counter Racist Code Show. We're going to put this show together. We're going to keep it going, but it may not just be us going forward. We want to bring some people like you. We're asking you to send us your comments. We're asking people who want to come onto the show. Because on the old show, we had a phone bank, and the phone would light up from 9 a.m. all the way up to 11 o'clock. And we would oftentimes have to leave people hanging on the line because so many people were trying to get through. So now we're in this new digital age. And so we're not taking phone calls as of yet, but you can still engage us by sending me a comment that you would like to get on the show at contact@producejustice.com. And then give us an idea of what you'd like to discuss. And we will work you into one of our programs, and we will send you the link to get on. So thank you again. And thank you, WK2 FM. Like he said, we are all still learning. Go to producejustice.com, get the information. Also, these shows are available after the show is on. We have someone in the waiting room. I'm not sure if she was trying to get on the air, but if you are, wave your hand. Well, I don't see your face there, but if you want to get on, bring on, go to, we'll send you the link and turn your camera on, and then we'll have a discussion and bring you on the show. I see Emery Lumumba says he definitely wants to be part of the discussion. Send us a note at contact@producejustice.com. Jason Watson says he uses hip hop cartoons to speak with teens here in Berlin. Yeah, hip hop cartoons. That's a YouTube channel by the handle Carlito Way. He's been a follower and fan of the show for many years. Matter of fact, many of the young people, they're not, the only way they're familiar with Mr. Fuller is through hip hop cartoons.
Yeah.
And so a shout out to Carlito Way. As a matter of fact, we have some of his cartoons on the website at producejustice.com. So as I stated, this show is going to evolve, it's going to grow. I may not be here the next half of the year. I'm just here to keep it going. I hope Mr. Bobby will stick around, but we want to keep this show moving. And thank you again. We're gonna talk about some other things that are going on. Recently we had this situation with Shedeur Sanders at the NFL draft. I don't know if it was Mr. Bobby, I'm not sure if it was a scheme to get more people to watch the draft, but many people thought he would go as like the number 1 or the number 2 pick. And he went all the way down to like 144th overall in the 5th round. And many people have felt, go back to Mr. Fuller's quote, if you do not understand racism, white supremacy, and how it works, everything that you do understand will only confuse you. Now, some people say that was at work.
I thought that, think about it, Gate. How many times have you watched round 3, 4, 5, or 6? You hadn't. And I think that having him go down that way, and they knew that people were interested in that, it seems to me a reasonable thought that this could have been a ploy to get people to watch, which means advertising. It's all about money, because that's what the corporation of America is about. And that's right, I said it. America is a corporation. Do your research. Anyway, it's all about money and how to make it in many different ways. And right now, as you can see, it's on steroids because everybody is charging it using COVID or whatever they want to charge more money. Even the streaming services and so forth. You can't even watch a game without betting or whatever is going on. It takes the fun out of it because it's all about money here. How much money you can get and how you get it, and they don't care who you offend in doing that. You see, it is an unjust system because they don't care about you individually. All they care about is how they can make the most money off you. And this is why Fuller said that we had to operate under a code to understand what's going on and how to counter that code. That's why the books were written that you can get by going to producejustice.com. But it just so happens to be, Gate, that a lot of people get caught up in what they see and they really don't focus on the code. So therefore, what he said at the beginning, if you do not understand racism, white supremacy, what it is and how it works, he said everything that else that you understand will only do what? Confuse you.
You know what? Still Learning said Shedeur he still got selected to serve on the plantation. And he also said that the NFL does not know how to handle a free black man like Deion Sanders. Why not combine that freedom with other free wealthy men to start their own league? Boy, I tell you, Still Learning, that's a question that has baffled me. And I mean, I'm trying to do my part to bring people together. I mean, I do networks. I try to put people together, collaborate to get to work together and build a bigger, better economic system. But until we build our own infrastructure, our own pro teams, our own shopping malls, I hear a lot of people talking about separating. Let's separate. Let's leave the system and go do our own thing. But when you get down to it, that's not realistic in this day and age unless you're ready to go live in a cave or something. Because
that's true, because under the system they won't allow you to. And Marcus Garvey tried to do that himself by establishing that. And what did they do to him? They kicked him out. They kicked him out. And you can't hardly find any information about that. But he had something going on, and it was a threat to the power structure, or the corporate power structure here in this Northwestern hemisphere. So they did what? They kicked him out. Now they just kill you.
Now, Mr. Fuller was of the mind that, just like we talked about the interracial marriage and some of the other things that he talked about, that many of these, like owning football teams, building our own infrastructure, why aren't we building cars? Now, there are some places in Africa where they're building automobiles, but let's just say in the United States, why aren't we producers of the things that we need to survive? And I think Fuller is correct that that's not going to happen. You're putting the cart before the horse. That's not going to happen until you eliminate the system of white supremacy and replace it with justice. Because to do otherwise, you're going to keep getting in this circle. Back in 104 years ago, we had a race riot in Tulsa, 1921. And it was an example of what happens when you try to build something within the system of white supremacy. They burned that city down to the ground. It was over in the Greenwood district.
Yeah, Greenwood.
Now, some people say, and this is my own belief too, that we have a similar parallel today. That I'll take the area of Washington, D.C., the metropolitan area, which includes Prince George's County, Charles County. And you really have a very fluent population. I mean, big homes, $1 million in their retirement accounts, gated communities, kids in private schools. You had Greenwood 2.0, almost a revival of Tulsa. But what we also we're seeing the backlash that we saw in Tulsa as well. But now they're not bringing torches. They're not bringing gasoline cans. What they're bringing now, they're bringing executive orders. They're bringing in Doge. They're cutting out the Black middle class in the Washington, D.C. area. There's about 200,000 jobs nationwide that's going to be reduced by what's taking place right now in Washington. That's about $22 billion in payroll. About 35,000 jobs in the Washington, D.C. area alone are going to be cut. That's going to affect all these people who had really started to believe. They forgot they were in this system. They forgot. They didn't follow Mr. Fuller's words that said, if you don't understand how it works, you could actually believe that you could build another Tulsa in an area like Washington, D.C. So now we've got to go back. We're going to see all these layoffs. It's going to trickle down. We're going to see what happened in areas like Flint, Detroit, when the automobiles, these automobiles pull out. And when that happens, we have urban decay, we have population decline, we have increases in crime. It's a cycle. Mr. Fuller is correct. Until you eliminate the system of white supremacy and racism, we're going to be continuing to spin our wheels. So when we have these celebrities like Sharp and so forth up here, instead of spending this time chasing, acting the fool, they should be spending some of that energy on eliminating the system of white supremacy and racism. let's talk about power for a minute and how this color and power works. From Mr. Fuller's own words, I'm going to play another clip from Mr. Fuller.
And to dominate and mistreat people who have color in their skin. That's what it's for. That is a value system, a total value system in all 9 areas of activity of the people of the planet. Economics, education, it's all about color. Entertainment, all about color. Labor, all about color. Law, anything dealing with law or law enforcement, all about what color are the people. What color are the people involved in this quote-unquote law or law enforcement? Who has the most say? Who has the most say when it comes to law enforcement? Who are the people who have the bottom line? They would run into, ultimately, to say, straighten out this mess. You ain't going to get it straightened out unless you're talking to somebody white. Period. It's a whole lot of mess going on. A whole lot of people with different opinions about this and that. A whole lot of people been hit in the face. Somebody just got shot again and again and again. School shootings, you name it. You want to straighten this mess out? First thing you look for is a white face. Otherwise, you ain't straightening out nothing. Because that's where all of the decisions are made that can really stick. Say, well, we got black leaders. There's no such thing as a black leader in the system of white supremacy. That's either true or false. There's no such thing as a black leader in the system of white supremacy. All of the leaders are black people in the system of white supremacy are white. Every last one of them. You have black what? Spokesperson. I'm one. The people calling in on this program is one, or two, or three. Oh, you got a lot of black people who speak. That's all they do. I'm one of them.
Wow. All right, Mr. Fuller. Now, he said it's either true or it's false. There's no such thing as black leaders. There's only black spokespersons. Ouch again. Wow. Well, let's put this into the context that Mr. Fuller, this parallel he used to use with the prison yard. And like I said, you can get a lot of this information that we're talking about by getting the book. And Mr. Bob, Mr. Fuller often talked about the prison yard. You look at any of these shows, like he liked this movie Shawshank Redemption. I used to look at movies like that, what's that show, MASH, and some of these other, where you had people who were confined, but within that confinement, they had leaders. If you go back into history, go back to World War I, World War II, they would have these gargantuan prison camps. And within that camp, where they would have the soldiers, sometimes into the tens of thousands, they had to have somebody, they had to appoint a leader, or a leader was self-appointed, in order to control the people in the prison. Otherwise, he's going to run around the prison with y'all acting the fool and killing each other. So this is one of the parallels Mr. Fuller would use often when he's talking about the system of white supremacy. That black people, just like in Shawshank Redemption and some of these movies where you see the prison, I'm trying to think of that show used to come on. I don't think it was MASH, it was another movie. Hogan's Heroes or something. I can't think of the name of it. But they had the people in the prison that was a leader appointed to deal with the overseers or the guards. And so Mr. Fuller has often said in this power dynamic that there are no leaders from a standpoint that you might think of as a leader, because everybody's under this umbrella of the system of white supremacy. So yeah, you can be the leader in the yard. You can be the leader of that state. You can be a leader of that company. But as long as you're under that umbrella, what Mr. Fuller just said when he talked about power, you are really just a spokesperson, because that could be taken away at any moment. That's deep. That's why when you have a show like this, we're not here to argue, we're not here to debate, we're here to exchange information and figure out how we can dismantle this horrible system that uses people and replace it with a system of justice. What say you, Mr. Bobby?
I'd say exactly what you just said. All that is repeating what Mr. Fuller talked about, because we have to speak, we have to think, speak, and act codified, because there are many distractions to keep us from doing that. And he emphasized, look, we're still learning. You have to continually learn this every single day, despite the distractions that come along. Just like right now, for example, I always ask you, we'll always say, hey, you can get the program by going to producejustice.com. But it never occurred to me how you set this up. Still learning. The icon in front of me. Now I can look at it. Facebook at Produce Justice, or rather YouTube at Produce Justice, or Facebook at producejustice.com, Neely Fuller Jr. You see, I put my concentration on what I needed to do. And just like, and you had this information up there all the time. I'm looking at it, but I didn't understand it. But now I do. I'm still learning. And that's what we have to do with the code. We're still learning. And you ask questions, as Fuller stated. You ask questions. Why? You mentioned in the other program today, don't argue, don't fuss. Don't do that. And if you are going to get in there, what? Don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee. I mean, the 3 F's, man. Stay away from that stuff so that your concentration is on producing justice and staying, as Nicole would say, codified.
Staying codified.
Yes.
I've done quite a few things in my life, and one of the things I remember the first time I heard of Mr. Neely Fuller, I was on somebody's radio show, and I was talking, and the host actually quoted Mr. Fuller, and they used that quote. And if you go out here on the internet and just look around, you'll be surprised how many people actually quote Mr. Neely Fuller, his famous quote about understanding. That is one of the most, like you said, Mr. prophetic quotes probably in history, because it sums it up so nicely. And I admit, I'm having discussions with people, and people are scratching their heads, sometimes beating their head on the wall till it bleeds, trying to figure certain things out. Like, why this? I just don't understand. I really just don't understand what's going on. I'm sitting there just nodding my head. I know what's going on. You need to get the book.
But you know what, Gay? It takes a while to get it. It takes a while to get it. But if you stay focused, on the code, just like the example I gave about the line in front of me, the ribbon in front of me, about how to get in contact with the show. It's been there for weeks, but I just didn't see it. But you put it on there, and today we're talking, and guess what? I saw it.
Learning.
That's how the code works. It works like you stay codified. You'll eventually begin to see it, and then start to talk it, speak it, and then act codified.
But the thing about enlightenment, I'm trying to think of the author. God, his name slips me. When you become enlightened and knowledgeable of what's going on, it's almost like you walk around enraged all the time, because when you realize what's actually happening to you and has happened to you and your ancestors and your forefathers and the gargantuan steps that are ahead of you. But we don't have to internalize that and get angry.
Right.
We don't have to walk around in rage. We can get codified and things start to make sense, because coming from the darkness into enlightenment can be disruptive.
Yeah.
It really can. It can turn your world upside down. Some people can hardly handle it because they had this great 9-to-5 job making $200,000 a year. They were set for life. So they thought they got kids, they got mortgages, they got 3 or 4 fancy cars out in the 4-car garage. And all of a sudden, they just realize how powerless they actually are.
Yeah.
How somebody can just pull that away from them at the bat of an eye.
Yep.
So that's why people, it doesn't matter where you are in life. You could be out here homeless. You can be the head of a big a music empire. You could be a rapper, a movie star, a lawyer, doctor, engineer, business owner, butcher, baker, candlestick maker. Don't get too comfortable in this system. I'm just telling you. Right. Don't do it. This is Gate talking, but he's talking also, he's backed up by Fuller, Mr. Fuller.
Yeah.
Don't get too comfortable.
Right. Just like Shannon. Shannon thought Shannon forgot he was black. I'll just put it like that.
That's a simple way to put it. Don't forget, when you forget, the kickback can be brutal when you forget. Yeah. So I'm always reminded. I've done a lot of things in my life, and I realized at some point I'm going to have to go out here and try to make it on my own, because every job I went in, I seemed to bump heads with the power to be.
But the redeeming thing about Shannon Gate is that as bad as it is, he can recover from this. He can recover. In other words, he could turn the bad into a good.
And that's the good. That's where I like to end this, Mr. Bobby.
Okay.
Is that we're not, at least I'm not, and I think Mr. Bobby feels that I know Mr. Fuller. We're not doom and gloomers. We're not saying the sky is falling. We're not saying there's this vicious system out here that's going to eliminate us off the face of the earth. That may be the intention, but that's not what we're going to say. We're going to say we want to strive for justice. We would like to dismantle this system of racism, replace it with a system of justice. But in the meantime, we understand that this is a process. It wasn't built overnight, and it's not leaving us overnight. So in the meantime, we've got to survive in this system. But you're going to survive a lot better. You're going to be a lot less confused if you understand. And when we go out here, we're going to play that quote again by Mr. Fuller in the outro. Life is going to be a lot less confusing if you understand this system that you are in. I don't expect you to solve it tomorrow. I haven't solved it. Mr. Bobby hasn't solved it. Mr. Fuller hasn't solved it. Nobody we know right now has solved this problem. But if nothing else comes out of this show, is to understand what you are up against. That's going to make your life much more reasonable.
Sat 7 says hidden in plain sight. Dr. Francis Cress Wells introduced him to Neely Fuller Jr.'s work. That's right, hidden in plain sight.
Yes, indeed. All right, folks. Well, we've talked about a lot today. And let me, somebody said, look at the word guide. Thank you, Produce.
Yes, Deuce. Yeah.
We have 2 young men that was unalived on Bell Mountain, and no one sees that the system that we're in.
That's it.
Well, like I said, we're here to, I'm not here to try to change anybody's minds or make somebody into something that they're not. My only reason my being here is to bring forth Mr. Fuller's words and his code book. Some I agree with, some I don't. Some I'm kind of like on the fence about. Some I'm still learning about. Some I just need to be a little more enlightened. And you may be in that same place. So just stay with us. Let this show run its course. We're going to bring on, like we say, we're going to bring on some of you to come on and help us navigate this show. Send us your email at contact@producejustice.com. We'll send you a link, try to get you up here on the screen with us. And we're going to have some more. This show is going to, like I said, evolve over the years. And I thank you again, Mr. Bobby. Any closing words?
Yeah. Well, I just want to say something to AP and Breeze Connection. We're looking for you, and you know how to get in contact with the show so that we all of us can make it better. And having you two on and anybody else, yeah, you know how to get in contact with the show to make it better, because we are all still are evolving to produce justice.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bobby.
Yes, sir.
That's gonna wrap up the show for today. This is the Counter Racist Code Show. Mr. Fuller's official show. This show was started by Mr. Fuller. Had his roots over in Talktainment, moved over to Blog Talk, and now we're on YouTube, Facebook, and ProduceJustice.com.
That's right.
Join us on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. and we're going to bring you another show next week at the same time.
All righty.
ProduceJustice.com. All right, Mr. Bobby. See you next week.
All right, sir. All right.
If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time.